What's up, guys? Doing a quick update video on my 2019 Yamaha yxz1000r SS. If any of you are subscribed, I did a video a few months back where we dynoed this thing completely stock. Made about 96 horsepower to the wheels, and I don't remember the torque, but you can see the video. Anyway, we did that just in preparation of all this upcoming work to kind of have a baseline and then see what improvements we're creating by doing some of these aftermarket mods. Now, I had to completely tear this thing down. All the body work had to come off to get at some of the things I need to access. I'm surprised at how much plastic is on this thing. I took literally a truckload of parts back down to the house and piled them in the garage where this thing normally lives. So I'm up at my, working at my shop out here in the back. Anyway, so this is this car stripped down. This thing's brand new, has about 27 miles on it. 96 horsepower is pretty boring. I never intended on keeping it stock. It's been up and down the street one or two times, but other than that, it's never seen dirt. Kind of nice to work on because it's not dirty. So today's project, we are installing a Motec M130 engine management by John Reed Racing in preparation of the turbo system that's going on this thing. Now, I bought this kit from John Reed, showed up this week, so we decided to start working on this thing. Extremely nice, high quality, definitely worth every penny. I can't speak highly enough of this individual. He's very helpful, but my system is somewhat custom compared to just the standard setup that he sells. I had a bunch of sensors added. Now, he has already written a base map for this, so it should hypothetically start and run with the big injectors I got as soon as we power this thing up. Now, with his system, obviously you get very nice mounting plate. Factory interface plugs right into the factory harness where the stock ECU used to live. If anybody's wondering how this goes in, because I was curious looking at pictures, slides underneath the transmission tunnel, uses these two fasteners, and then you get a third hole back here, which I put just a M5 riv nut into the plastic with a M5 bolt and a nylon washer. Super easy. Took just a couple minutes. Now, what's taking a lot longer is wiring up all the additional items that I purchased with this system. Now, I will also say that John Reed he writes software for Motec, firmware software. So he's developed his own firmware for this ECU, which allows, retains all the factory functionality of this vehicle, including the digital dash, controls the four-wheel drive actuators, the electric power steering, all the things that the ECU is doing aside from just controlling the engine. He's written that into his firmware package. So that's kind of what makes this system unique. Now, onto the custom. I added a bunch of stuff to this because we're using this car to kind of prototype some parts, and want to be able to see where we're getting improvements and if we need to change or rework any of this stuff once it gets done. Some of those additions we have, well, I should say also, and for some safety when we try to go for big power on this setup. Safety options, added a knock sensor, it's got oil pressure sensor, it's got fuel pressure sensor, and we're running yxz1000r wideband, which is actually the AEM version of it, but it works with his firmware. You can use this item. Saves you a little bit of money. So the AEM yxz controller I mounted up here, and ran the harness around, and it comes out where kind of where the exhaust is going to be for that's where the O2 sensor will live. Surprised to see this car doesn't have a factory oxygen sensor, but I guess must be in open loop the whole time it's running. No, well, some form of emissions, but I'm not sure how they're getting away with it. Maybe because of the smaller displacement. Anyway, I've had him, he built this relay block for me as part of this kit, which I mounted here. Gives me 2 powered circuits for intercooler water pump and intercooler fans. I'm gonna put the heat exchanger up front. 2019 has the radiator in the rear. Big, huge radiator. I don't know if anybody's ever wanted to see what this actually looks like apart. It's got big 12-inch fans. They've definitely done a much needed cooling upgrade on these newer cars. That should be a nicer ride because I know some of the older ones are pretty hot in the passenger compartment when you're especially going slow, like in, I don't know, through the dunes or in the forest or something. When you're not moving real fast, you get a lot of hot air. So they've solved that with those big fans and big radiator behind the driver. Anyway, his relay block, I mounted it here so I can access it from behind once the plastic's back on, if I ever had to change the relay or there's a couple fuses in there. And I ran that wiring up the center console. My water pump will live up here somewhere. And then obviously the fans will be in the front with the heat exchanger. This wiring is what I'm currently working on. This is all my pressure sensors. Got a couple extras. I got intercooler inlet temperature, which will give me turbo compressor discharge temperature. So I can see the efficiency of the intercooler based on whatever IAT is after the intercooler. And let me think what else. So the other ones are the pressure sensors. I am doing a flex fuel system on this. It's where I can run pump gas or E100 or anything in between. Most cars and things that I work on, we end up doing that because it keeps it real simple. You can just put E85 in from the gas station. Doesn't matter what ethanol content it really is because it varies depending on where you're getting it. ECU will automatically adjust timing and fueling and boost depending on how you have it set up. So if you want to go faster, you just put more ethanol in it and it makes more power. Very simple. No trying to hunt down E85 stations and no pre-testing E85 content before you run. So very necessary for something like that, in my opinion. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out where do I mount E85 sensor, which uses a GM flex fuel sensor for the content. But that's about how far we are. Everything OEM wiring is reconnected. This big mess up here is actually Yamaha's factory wiring, so I might have to clean that up a little bit. You can see the battery buried underneath it. We'll get the rest of this stuff run. I still got a bunch of fabrication work to do on this car to build the turbo kit and get it all together, but the next video should be of this car. We'll talk about the turbo kit, and then potentially it'll be back on the dyno. Just depends on my work schedule. I've been real busy, but hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be back on the dyno. Stock motor, stock clutch, just to kind of see where the limitations are. I'm hoping to get about 200 wheel out of it, which is 100% increase in stock power, which I think is very achievable. With good quality parts that we're putting on it. And then we'll run it that way this winter at the dunes, and then the plan is to tear the motor down and do some cylinder head work and some cams and a built rotating assembly, and then we'll go after some big power. So I got everything else is set up for it, or will be. Running some big injectors, got Injector Dynamics 1700cc injectors. I'm gonna remake the fuel sending unit, which I was also surprised this is a returnless system. So we've got a fuel pump in here and a single line going out. So the regulator is more than likely in the pump. I'm gonna make a billet version of this to run a Walbro 340 probably. I think just one pump will do for this project. And it'll have a return line because you have to have a return line for the flex fuel. It reads the ethanol content on the return line. So that's one piece I gotta fabricate, and then a bunch of brackets for various miscellaneous items, sensors and stuff that we're gonna be running. But just figured I'd give you guys an update. Anybody wanted to see a 2019 with no skin on it, this is what it looks like. Nice car. I mean, side-by-sides they're pretty cheaply made in my opinion. Lots of plastic, 10 million cable ties holding everything together. They don't have, disappointed to see the cable ties are not trimmed, you know, if you look at all this stuff, but that's just how it comes from the factory. So slowly we'll get it all cleaned up. Should be real fun though. And again, just a shout out to John Reed for a very awesome product. JohnReedRacing.com, I believe, is his website. If you guys need the best engine management for Yamaha, he also makes them for, let's see, Can-Ams, a couple other side-by-side applications. And then he does high-end car stuff. He's got products in Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Vipers and everything else you can imagine. So he is definitely the motec guy. Very nice to work with. Hope you got some good information out of this video, and stay tuned. We'll do, next one should be really starting to look like something. So thanks for your time. Bye.